All right, day 414. Here's what we got going on today. Looking at this market, looking for properties that have 4 bedrooms and above with some type of rehab needed. And I came across this property, 4 bed, 2 bath. I like that it already has more than one toilet and it was about 1,500 square feet. So that makes me feel pretty good about this property. And when I went to this property, it looks pretty cosmetic. I mean, I think there's some drywall work that needs to get done, especially in the kitchen. Kind of repaint everything. I'll probably have to redo all the flooring. Doesn't look that great. The bathrooms look okay though, so that was a plus on this property. But you can kind of see that these paneling on the wall, it just seems like it needs a little bit of repair. So let's go ahead and analyze this property, assuming it is as it is. And tomorrow we're going to look at this property maybe potentially as a burr, because I want to show the multiple different ways for you to look at a property besides for just looking at it as an on the market property or looking at it as a burr, right? This is how you actually look at one property, essentially 2 different ways. Now, 5409 Huntsville Ave, Midfield, Alabama, 35228. Let me go get the market rent first. So if I go to affordablehousing.com, I go to the market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in the bedroom count, you can see that for 25 units within a 3.5 mile radius, the average rent is $13.65. Okay, great. That's probably assuming it's renovated. Okay. So now that I got this rent number in here, I want to go and estimate my rehab. Again, going through all these details here, let's go ahead and plug in some of these numbers. All right, so I'm going to assume I need to replace the roof because it doesn't look like it's in that great of shape. 1,488 square feet. I got a little bit of, maybe there's some siding work that needs to get done. I didn't love how it looked on the outside. So I got like just a little bit of money outside, $5,000 for some siding work in case there's some issues there. $500 for some landscaping. I got 1,488 square feet for painting the entire place and just a little extra wall prep. So I'm adding 50 cents per square foot. So now you're going to see that this is about just say $5,200 for the work on a wall. If I replace all the flooring, right, with LVP, that's about at $8 a square foot, is almost about 12 grand. Now I'm just going to renovate the kitchen to, I call it a low end kitchen, but really it's because I think there's some stuff here that you can just keep. It's not a full gut where you're redoing the plumbing, probably put in the stove and then repaint the cabinets, etc. Now that you got that plate, and you probably want to put some extra counter space right here, to be honest with you. That's probably going to be really, really important for someone cooking at home. All right, kitchen and bathroom still matter a lot, especially for families. 2 of the toilets going to be high pressure flush toilets because we're going to replace those ones just so I can prevent some clogged toilet calls. I got a new forced air heating system for about $8 grand. New HVAC system, air conditioning unit, $2 grand. I got another water heater because I don't see it in here. So I'm just going to need to provide a water heater here for $2,500. So it gives me a total rehab of about $64,000. Okay. Now, $64,000 is going to be my rehab right here, $13.65. I'm going to go get my property tax number right here from in the Redfin payment calculator. So I took $97 right here. And then for my insurance, I'm going to do equal 65 times 1.3 because I typically see properties being insured for roughly around $1,000 a month. So I'm adding a 20. Usually I've been adding 20% premium, but that number just seemed a little bit low. I'll probably want to be at least $90, $100 a month, honestly, for insurance. So that brings it up a little bit because I'm assuming that this insurance estimate is probably related to an estimate for a primary residence property. So if I turn this into like an investment property, well, I'm going to assume it's going to be more insurance premium because it's a riskier asset in the eyes of insurance companies. All right, I got 10% set aside for maintenance. I got 10% set aside for property management. I got 5% set aside for vacancy, right? The most important number here is this maintenance number, right? You're setting aside that money every single month because that money doesn't belong to you. We all know that the roof is going to get replaced at some point. HVAC is going to get replaced at some point. Even though we're replacing a bunch of the stuff with new items, if you expect to hold on to this property for a really long time, well, eventually you're going to have to replace those items, right? So 10% seems really reasonable to me, right? Especially since I just got a bill for a roof replacement for $15,000 at the Airbnb. So These are all factors that you got to put in place. All right. So for my down payment, I got 25%. So my down payment amount is going to equal to my listing price in B4 times my and multiplied by my down payment percentage in F19. That gives me a 21 grand down payment. I got 2.5% for closing costs, $64,000 for renovation reserve. For my financing amount, I'm going to take my B4, my asking price, minus my down payment amount in E19. So I'll be financing roughly around $74,000. I'm $64,000. Now, let's say it's a 7.5% interest rate because that's a pretty low loan. Generally, there's some extra additional costs in there. So if that is the case, assuming everything else stays constant and I'm able to buy this property for 84 grand, but I'm spending so much money renovating the property, this will yield me a 5.5% cash and cash return. Let's write this one down. So if I rent this out as a 3-bedroom for $1,365, I will cash flow $399 a month with a 5.5% cash and cash return, assuming $84,500 with a $64,000 rehab. Okay, 7.5% interest rate. Right, great. Now, what would I have to buy this property for in order to get this up to 10%? And this is probably going to be a pretty low number. Let's try 40 grand. There you go. If I buy this property for 40 grand, then that allows me to essentially get a 10% cash and cash return. But it's going to be unlikely that someone's going to be willing to give you a loan for 30 grand. I mean, in that situation, I would at least expect the closing cost to be closer to 5 points because I've seen, yeah, it's got to be way more. Usually at loan rates that low, you're going to see that they charge at least a flat fee of like 2 grand. So you got 2 grand going to their lender for the origination cost, and then you got about 2 grand for legal costs to close on a property. That'll bring you to, okay, so 9.7%. So it would still be a deal, quote unquote, at $40,000 if you're able to rent this property out for $1,365. And in that situation, you will be cash flowing $632 a month, assuming your rehab again stayed at $64,000. Okay. Now, that's the difference between you running through the scenarios yourself and figuring out, hey, is this a deal, quote unquote, for yourself? Now, we're not saying 10% is the magical number by any means. We're simply showing you how to go through the scenarios, adjust the different inputs, right, or levers, whatever you want to call it, to make this a deal meet your criteria. Because for every property, there is a price or set of terms that would make this a deal, quote unquote. And this is a great example for you to take that into consideration on what you need to do, right? Now, obviously, if you get an inspection and you get a contractor to walk it and all of a sudden the rehab want to buy another 20 grand, well, now all of a sudden you're going to realize that you can't offer that much money for the house anymore. And you can just adjust up and downwards to inputs between increasing the renovation. So let's say you add $10,000. Now all of a sudden you have to buy this property for 30 grand, right? Just to get it back to the same cash and cash return, roughly of 9.7%. And that's exercise of when you go through. So do this alongside with me, right? I hope you guys copy my homework today. Use the same property on Redfin, right? I just found this property here. Use your own spreadsheet and then go to affordablehousing.io. If you do need a copy of the spreadsheet, affordablehousing.io, not .com. Click on the Get Deal Analysis tool. Putting your name, email, your phone number. That's the fastest way you get a copy of the spreadsheet. And that is all for today. Hope you all have an amazing Sunday. Hope you all spend some quality time with your family and friends today. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 415. Have a good one, everybody.